see some of the personality of Dave, Kevin, and Amador tonight. A couple rules for everybody. We're going to give each candidate 3 minutes to showcase what they're about and what their values are. Then, when I ask questions, they will have 2 minutes to respond. And then, if one of them wants to do a friendly debate, they can raise their hand and they can have 1 minute to counter or respond when necessary. Dave Bren, you are up. You got 3 minutes to tell us your story. Why are you doing what you do?
First of all, thank you, Rick, for putting this on. This is awesome for our community to have this discussion with the three candidates. So my background, let's start with me. So
can I have you
get a little closer?
Kiss the mic a little bit or turn it towards you a little more?
Thank you. I'm Dave Bren. I'm the current Grant County road engineer. And my background, I'm a licensed professional engineer. I've got 29 years of experience in both the public and private sector. My educational background is I have a master's degree in civil engineering and a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. And I meet with the commissioners weekly. I meet and advise them. I understand their duties, and there is several department areas that I interact with already in my duties that I have. Service in the background, I was in the Army Reserve, so I've been to boot camp, and I'm a 12 Bravo, 12 Charlie combat engineer. Family, I've been married for 33 years to my college sweetheart. And one of the things that I want to bring to this campaign is positive. So I want to make this very positive. Because I am the current county road engineer, I have to be really careful because these two gentlemen could be my boss very shortly. So I need to understand that. And so really my goals are a little bit different in that education is part of it, information is part of it, so that I can let the community know more about what the road engineer does, what the commissioners does. This is an important opportunity to get that information out. So the people that I meet, what I learn, and the information that I provide to the community will benefit the office of the engineer regardless of what happens. So I'm very excited, and I'm learning a lot, meeting a lot of people. This is an incredible opportunity. So thank you, Grant County.
Thank you, Dave. Kevin Burgess, you got 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it. So I was born and raised in Moses Lake, raised 2 children of my own, a blended family. That's a challenge in itself. Been a foster parent, have an adopted daughter who's now 10. I've been involved with the Fair Advisory Committee for 6 years, been on the Board of Equalization for 2 years, previous business owner for 22 years in Ephrata, designated broker for 22 years, done property management for over 40 years as an investor. I've done a lot of volunteer work that I don't even tell anybody. And my whole thing is as a volunteer and working with the community, I feel that's important. And so I want to give back even more. So that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Kevin. Amador Castro, you have 3 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you. First, thanks for having us here. So I'm Amador Castro. I am currently a teacher at Vanguard Academy. Previous to that, I was a teacher at Moses Lake High School. So my expertise in teaching, which is one of the reasons why I want to run for this position, is I've worked with the bottom 25% of the population of students who had a high chance of dropping out of school their freshman year, and I kept them in school for 4 years. Through my program, I earned national awards for having one of the only programs in the nation that had a 94 to 100% graduation rate with my students. And but it really wasn't anything I did. The students are amazing, and they did the work. I was just there to support them. So one of the things that I've always heard while working with my students is them constantly say they have to leave Moses Lake or leave Grant County in order to make it in this world. And I didn't like that, never liked that. I always try to show them the opportunities and everything that's here for them. So that's one of the biggest platforms that I have, is that I want my students and upcoming students, our workforce that's coming up, to understand that there are so many opportunities here for them to start families and just become productive members of our society here and just help Grant County grow into what it needs to be. Um, Sorry, I guess I jumped into that real quick, but I am a father of three amazing kids, a business owner as well here in Moses Lake, own the UPS store. Um, with my wife, she runs it. I just pretend to run it. Um, and yeah, I mean, I do a lot of volunteer work, stuff that goes unnoticed because I don't like recognition. I hate it. Like when we get into the questions, you'll understand that I hate talking about myself and the things that I do for people. So, yeah, that's who I am.
Well, thank you. Sounds like we got a good team here looking out for the community. First question. Are you ready? This question is from Cody Vandaway. What is being done to add more recreation to the county?
Either or. Go first.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. We'll just start with Dave.
So Grant County does not have a parks department. However, we do have a trails fund. So for example, as the county engineer, I'm responsible for the trails fund. We have about 300,000 in there right now. We can leverage that to as 15% match for 85% grants from the state and from the feds. So that's about $2 million of value. So when you look at the 6-year transportation improvement plan, which just got approved by the current board just today, actually, just before this, I was at this hearing. There are 3 projects, trail projects coming up. One of them next year is the Desert Air Drive separated trail. So it's about 1.5 miles to go from the state highway down to the trail at the water. So that's one. And in 2028 and 2030, we're doing phase 1 and phase 2 of the Dunes Trail. So there's going to be, if you know where the south end of the lake is at and the dunes, we're going to be paving the road, and then we're going to have a separated paved trail as well. So that's 3 trail projects. And what you need to do is use that trails funding and use it to leverage to go after grants. And then you can get a lot more done. And that's what we need to do with our money, our local money. Use it to match and get more in. Anyways, that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else care to respond?
I mean, not really. When I was researching it, I realized that we had nothing. I mean, there's no recreational money. I mean, he pretty much hit it right there. So,
Okay.
So my comment on the whole recreational for Grant County, how much more recreational things do we need to have in this county? Can we improve on it? Certainly. I think the sand dunes, the southwest part of the lake could be expanded for more boats. I've had that discussion with the Department of Wildlife, Bureau of Reclamation. I met Rob out there. There's some work that needs to be done there.
Thank you. What have you done to help the county? Let's start with Amador, and we'll work backwards this time.
the biggest thing I've done to help the county is produce productive citizens. I mean, graduating my students and showing them different avenues to take and keeping them graduated is one of the biggest things that I've done. There's lots of volunteer work that I've done, like cleaning up. I mean, just last month I had somebody come to my school, and yeah, we're in May. So, anyways, I had somebody come to my school and say, the post office looks horrible. It's really dirty down there. What can we do about it? And I was like, all right. So I grabbed some kids. We went down there and cleaned it up. So I mean, there's things like that that I do constantly. So
Kevin Burgess.
All right. Well, so about 10 years ago, I had an opportunity where we had an espresso stand in Cascade Valley. The Cascade Valley Water District was going broke. They sent me a letter and said, hey, we're about to get red tagged. So I went to the meeting. I immediately became a commissioner on the board of the water district, sat on 2 or 3 meetings and realized that we were being ripped off by a certain individual. So the following meeting, we agreed to remove him. Took about 9 months for us to get out of the hole. And then I stayed on for another year, built a new house, and had to move. And so I was 100 feet out of the district. So I had to leave the district. But by the time I left, we were in the black. And now I went to the meeting last night and we have like almost $500,000 in that account. I'm on the Fair Advisory Committee, been on it for 6 years, going on another. Board of Equalization. If you've seen the big water tower out the fairgrounds, 6 years I asked, can we paint that water tower? Can we paint that water tower? Jim says, it's not in the budget. It's not in the budget. Last year I said, there is no budget. I'm painting it. So 2 days, I painted it. Gave him the bill. I said, we're paying for it. And he said, no, we got that much money in our account. We'll pay for it. And then I went down to Mosaic Steel and said, hey, how about if you donate a sign with our logo? They made it. I painted it. We put it on. So those are just some of the things I've done in the county.
Thank you. Dave Bren.
2 items. So the first one is apprenticeship. I'm a strong advocate of apprenticeship. And there's 152 apprenticeable trades in the state of Washington. One of them is heavy equipment operator. I pushed hard and got a heavy equipment operator program started at Public Works. We have 60 heavy equipment operators. We now have an apprenticeship program. We'll have our first few graduates at the end of this year. They'll get licenses from labor and industries. Apprenticeship is the original degree. It was around thousands of years before other degrees. It is practical. People are making money on day one with apprenticeship, and those state licenses are gold. Plumber, electrician, carpenter, and now heavy equipment operator right here in our county. We have jobs open right now. Heavy equipment operator level 2, which is an apprentice level to start. We have those available right now. If people are hearing me and they want to get started with their career, here's an option for you. So the second item is doubling the output of our capital projects. So after COVID, we were down to 4 to 5 million a year in public projects at the county. Now we're up to 10 million a year. So we've doubled our output, and I am so proud of my staff for turning this around, bringing, and as I spoke earlier, 85% of that is grant money. Bringing that state and federal money into our community multiplies many times. So it is really important for your county engineer to push hard and to keep above $10 million in projects a year, capital projects. And right now, my team is just hammering it. We're doing a really good job. So I'm proud of those 2 things.
Amador.
So the apprenticeship you're talking about, are those just for people with diplomas already, or are those in schools as well? Like, can we get 16-year-olds in some of those programs?
Excellent question. Okay, so first of all, you have to have, to graduate out of apprenticeship, you have to have your diploma or GED, but you can start an apprenticeship without it, and they will help you get your GED or your before you graduate. And this is, we signed with the Northwest AGC out of Spokane. They have a wonderful program. It is non-union, even though our operators are union. They made the decision to go with a non-union apprenticeship, which is astounding, actually. So as far as I know, it's the first one in the state that's done this way.
And is the county advertising that within the schools? Like, because I have the only one I heard about, the apprenticeship program I heard about, is through Ajax, and we had some of my students actually get that apprenticeship. So they're working out in Genie right now, which is amazing. But I mean, opportunities like that, I feel like should be advertised within the school, so then we can get more students involvement.
I would be honored to come to your program and speak at some time in the future. I think you're absolutely right. We need to get this out, and we need to make it so that it. Right now, we have, and you can see it on our website, we have a career HEO program. You start as a heavy. You can even start before you even have your commercial driver's license with manual endorsement. We will train you. Then you become an HEO2. Then you go through 3 years of apprenticeship. You get your state license as a heavy equipment operator, and then you are automatically promoted to an HEO3. And then after a few years, 4 and 5. And our level 5 operators, they're the ones that teach the others. It's the idea. So we have a full career there for heavy equipment operators, and they make great money right here. Just like you said, we need to keep our kids here.
All right.
And I would be honored to come.
Okay. We'll set it up.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Now for a fun question. Steve Martinez would like to know if pineapple belongs on pizza or if it should be a felony. We'll start with Amador Castro.
I am not in a position to judge people's preference. So if somebody wants pineapple on their pizza, they can do it. One time I was in Italy and I found a pizza place that put potatoes on it, and I thought that was weird, but it was delicious. So I can't judge people what they like.
Grant County needs Spud Pizza. Okay. Kevin Burgess.
I personally, I like pineapple on my pizza. It's better than anchovies.
Yeah. Dave?
So, uh, my wife loves pineapple on pizza. So for 33 years now, I love pineapple on pizza too.
The constituents in the house. Yeah. um, Stacy Bishop is asking, I want to know what we can do about dog dumping and how we can improve the shelter. Let's start with Kevin Burgess.
So it's my understanding that the Grant County is looking at building or helping fund a new dog shelter. I think there's a lot of work that still needs to go into that because I believe that we could do it cheaper, but I haven't seen the plans and I'm not involved with it, but I know that there is something in the works and I'm for it, but I'd have to see if we can do it cheaper and do a better job.
Dave Bren.
I agree with Kevin. Kevin's right on. I'm actually concerned about spending $2 million like that to build a new facility. We have, and I get it and I understand it. And I'm just like you. I'm supportive of the goal, the need, but it's $2 million. And the existing facility, if you've been in there, it's horrible. It really is. However, the site we could build and expand and then remodel, rehab. Maybe it becomes the existing facility becomes a different type of facility, if you will. Maybe it is for maybe it doesn't have the offices anymore in there, let's say, and the new building could be a new slab on grade, metal sheath, cost effective type building that could be the front office, if you will. But $2 million is a concern. And just like Kevin, I would have to get into the details and research this and understand why we're going down this road. And my understanding as well is it's once we're done with it, we're turning it over to a nonprofit, private nonprofit. So, and there's some concerns about that too, how that's going to work out.
I agree.
Gifting funds.
I don't like any part of it, but I mean, other than the fact that it's going to get built, but not on our dime.
Yeah. Did you care to weigh in, Amador?
Um, I've been to the old facility. If I understand it correctly, it was built by a group of guys who knew we needed a place for it, and so to remodel or something like that, I don't think it would be cost effective. I know they need a new facility, and we have a lot of animals here who, that place is horrible. We need something better for them. I'm an animal lover, so it's hard for me to walk in there and just not want to take every single one of those dogs home. Mostly dogs. I'm not a big cat guy, but um, so that's really hard for me to go in there. So like my heart says, yeah, give them what they need because it's needed in this area. So
Okay. Next question. This one's from Homeless Guy. If your main supporter, donor, or person with strong community ties requests a favor or a paved road, will you do it for them or follow the countywide scoring system? Let's start with Dave Bren.
As your county engineer, this has come up several times with me where there's some history in the past before I got here. And the answer is no, absolutely not. This is public money. It must be ranked and scored. Right now on our website, you'll actually see the gravel to oil program. It's nicely scored, and you'll even see a map to show which years come up. In fact, this is the first time that the gravel to oil program has been added to our transportation improvement program, which just got approved today. You'll see the next 6 years of gravel to oil, as they are ranked, are in here. So no one can play any games and try to go around it. It's set for 6 years. Although, future boards could change that. But right now, this board has made the decision to, hey, we are going to follow scoring and we're going to rank these and we're going to stick to that. This is public money. You can't play games like that anymore.
Very good. Anyone else care to weigh in, or should I jump to the next question?
I don't know. First of all, I'd have to say that I don't think if any of my donors asked me to do something like that, I wouldn't do it, first of all, but none of my donors would ask me to do that. Secondly, you have to go by the scoring process. And quite frankly, if there's a road that's really bad and it has to be repaired, I'm going to go out and look at it myself. I'm not going to go, I'm just that kind of person. I'm going to go look at it for myself. I asked Rob Jones the same question, and he said, yeah, we do. Some of us do go out and look at them. And I would be one of those.
Very good. Amador?
The obvious answer is no, I wouldn't. So,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I think that's an obvious answer. Julie Rasmus would like to know, would you name a few departments that you would oversee, or what are a couple of your favorite departments? And maybe you could help educate the community by naming them of some of the things that you oversee.
Everything umbrellas underneath of us. So we oversee pretty much every department in some form or fashion. And I believe that we have to be partners with every department. We have to work with every department and bring cohesiveness to everybody and work together. Otherwise, our county is going to be it's not good. So we have to partner together.
Very good. Mr. Bren.
So the current board has chosen to have certain people specialize, and then they try to rotate every year. And I get that. For me, there's going to be some natural strengths because there are certain departments I interact with heavily now. So, for example, Public Works and the roads department and solid waste. Day one, I'll be very strong with them because obviously I'm doing that now. I'm responsible for a $27 million budget right now. So expanding that would be no problem for me. So then in addition, I work with central services for all their buildings as well. I'm close with them. The sheriff's department as well, I work with regularly. And of course, the board I work with regularly as well. And then the planning and development services. So on the code side of it as well, I have to, every day I have to review the code and make responses on that.
Very good. Sean Needham asked a question. How would you work with the Board of Equalization to make sure property tax disputes are dealt with appropriately? Oh, someone's pointing to Kevin Burgess. I guess you've been singled out, Kevin.
So the Board of Equalization is oversee the Department of Revenue is who we are under, basically. The assessor's office is responsible for taxes. People come into our office for an appeal on their taxes, and they have to prove to our board beyond a reasonable doubt that the assessor's office has made an error. That's a tall order for 99% of the people that come in. Some don't even bring information. They appeal and they don't bring anything. So the board has no way of, we can't change that. We can't change your taxes. We have to follow the Board of Department of Revenue, the WAC codes and all that. It's not what people think, unfortunately. Talk to the assessor's office before you go to Board of Equalization. That's my advice. Talk to the assessor's office.
Let's jump to the next question. I think you answered that pretty good. Teresa Winsler, what experience do you have dealing with administrative codes, ordinances, budgets, and making and enforcing contracts? Amador.
I'm a teacher, so there's no experience for me in any of those categories. But when I'm elected, I will work with everybody to learn all of that stuff. So
Very good. Let's jump over to Dave.
So this is an everyday item for me. So I I handle Grant County Code, Washington Administrative Code, Revised Code of Washington. I have to uh, review it, and sometimes I have to interpret it and make decisions on things because I have people coming at me and really. And it's surprising how deep you have to go in there. Sometimes I have to go to the PA's office as well and get further clarification from our prosecuting attorney's office as well. So I'm deeply involved in that. And I think the last element to that question was budget as well. So I am personally responsible for a $27 million road budget, and I have to um, sign for that with the state annually with the state board. So it is budgeting is what one of the things that I do, and it's going to be a strong point of mine. And the codes obviously is a strong point of mine as well.
Thank you. Oh, did we give you a chance on this one, Kevin? Or
You didn't.
all right? He's like, you almost got off. I almost asked the next question.
So I don't deal with codes a lot. I deal with contracts on a daily basis. I've been on the board of Washington Realtors many times, voted on budgets. They have a large budget. So I am familiar with budgets, but codes and RCWs, that's something that'd be a learning process for me. But that's what we have the prosecutor's office for and staff. They help us out a lot.
No.
So, and we have a good staff. So,
All right. Next question. What is the Grant County Commissioner's plan for dealing with the county dump that is almost full? Oh, let's start with Dave Brand.
Okay, so the current commissioners are going a certain way, and they're still researching other options. For me, it's clear. The option is to expand at the existing site. To the south, yes, we have to purchase the land, and I know those people that we have to purchase from, but it doesn't make sense to me to take all our existing facilities, go buy another parcel, and rebuild those facilities there because you have to buy that parcel too somewhere else. Expanding where we're at now makes the most sense, and I know that there are some that are against that, and I get it and I get why, but it makes the most sense to me. And yes, we're researching waste to energy as well, but we're 100,000 people in this county. We do not produce enough of a waste stream to look at that expensive option. Sure, we could amortize that over 40 years, but it still doesn't pencil. And for me, I look at Spokane County, and they have 600,000 population, so they have enough waste stream that they could utilize that and fund that. So I'm very cautious about waste to energy. For me, the practical choice is to build where we're at now, expand where we're at now, and there's some advantages and disadvantages. That there's another choice that we've been looking at as well is transfer to Adams County because they have a brand new facility there, and they are starting up with contracts with really low rates and they're trying to get all the other counties to send solid waste there. And that's why I think if we do waste to energy, we'd be competing against them. So they would have a low rate and we would have a higher rate, and we need the garbage to be able to fund that. So I know there's a lot of proponents for waste to energy, but just it doesn't pencil. So expand where we're at now. It's the practical choice.
Kevin?
so Dave, have they looked into partnering with somebody to do a waste energy plant? I feel that would be I feel that would be the way to go. I think the waste energy plant would provide us with power. We're not putting waste in our ground. Hopefully not having any ground contamination. I believe we have an old landfill out across from I-90 that's been there for years and years. We could remove the waste from that and take it to the waste energy plant. I just think there's other options.
is that the one where they're dumping in water and got in trouble for it?
Well, it's out by the O'Sullivan area. It's on the south side of I-90. by Hiawatha, but it was there. It's been there for years. Probably a lot of you guys in this room don't know it's there.
Don't. Interesting.
Dun dun dun.
I like the idea of
Hopefully I didn't open
privatization, though. That
Pandora's
is
box.
cool. The privatization idea is a great idea, Kevin.
Commodore care to weigh in on the trashy subject?
Uh, I mean, the reality is, I would have to sit with the different boards and see what they have plans because they should have plans in place, like he was
Yeah.
talking about. So, yeah.
All right, next question. What is your vision? This is a question asked by Joseph Murphy. What is your vision for the city growth and development, both business and infrastructure? Let's start with Amador.
So my vision would be to work with all the different cities in Grant County and see how they can work together because that's going to be the biggest thing. The county is you know they don't provide the sewer and the water. County's not responsible for that. The cities are. So in order to have infrastructure and stuff like that, we'd have to work with the cities, and that's going to be the biggest thing is to have all the commissioners work well with all the city officials.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. We need to do a better job of that, I think, reaching out to every city within our county because, quite frankly, they're in our county. We should be partnering with all of them. We should be helping them. They should be helping us. Um, there's a lot going on in this county, more than people realize, and we're in trouble. Power is an issue. People don't realize. They think, oh, we got PD, we got all kinds of power. Well, if you're paying attention, we really don't. So that's a problem. And I think the commissioners need to do a better job of working with our PUD. But that's something I would do. I would have meetings with the PUD. I'd get involved with as much as I can.
Thank you, Kevin. Dave Bren.
So I'm a civil engineer. In my whole career, everything that I believe in my heart is building civilization. So for me, infrastructure, and Kevin's right on, the power availability, water availability, the water rights issues. Oh my goodness, right now, we're it, it, there is so much going on. So for me, I'm going to be pro growth. I am pro um, pro industry, and I am pro housing. I want houses for our kids the water for me. I understand power as well, but water availability. I have seen several large projects just recently be shut down by water not being available, and we do not have enough supply of single family or multifamily right now, and it is a big concern. There's just not enough supply. So I saw several hundred unit developments just get shut down by water availability, and then I saw one that was over 1,000 units just get shut down. And I'm the county engineer, I had to do my best to try to push back, but again, the county engineer on the county side, we provide for the roads in the UGA, but not the water, and there is a solution to it, and it involves the Moses Lake Irrigation District, and involves a longer plan to switch over to irrigation water. But that's probably for a question coming up shortly. Because we use 75% of our drinking water in the city of Moses Lake in the summer to irrigate.
And my question regarding that is, you have the development that went on out West Shore
Yes.
that is contiguous to City of Moses Lake property that goes to the lake. Why in the world did we not put in a pump station at the lake, add lines going to that development to service those new homes with irrigation water? That one, there's one in Mont Lake that's going in. We're not doing it there either. The city complains about not having drinking water. Well, there's your problem. You're not thinking. It's a big problem.
You're absolutely right, Kevin. This is something that we should have started 2 decades ago. We have plenty of irrigation water. That lake right there, the irrigation district can take draws from anywhere. We can use the lake as our pipe, and then we can pull to wherever we need. But it takes time to build the purple pipe, if you will. But we needed to start that 20 years ago, and we didn't. But
Correct.
we need to start now. It's sad. We're turning away and our kids are going to have to move away because they can't even afford a home here or get a job here because we're turning away even manufacturing,
Yeah.
not just developments.
Correct.
Yeah, it's bad. We should have started a long time ago.
All right, next question. This one's I think this one's a tough one, and I think it's a concern. And we kind of touched on it. Brandon Douglas is asking, how will you promote affordable housing in the county?
This is Kevin's profession.
We'll pick on Kevin then.
Well, I mean, in the county, it's difficult because the cost of land is high. Wells are more expensive. I mean, an average well is 20 grand. Septic systems are 20 grand. It's expensive. I mean, costs have gone through the roof. I don't know how we fix that at this point. It's difficult, especially in the county. In the cities, it's a little easier, but not outside the city limits.
Yeah.
Counties aren't designed for neighborhoods, right? Like counties aren't city, that's city responsibility. So to, talk about affordable housing as a county responsibility, it doesn't really make sense.
But what's happening to me is that the city is not annexing. So what's happening is, why would they annex residential? Because they're able to get paid 125% for the utilities they're providing out in the UGA for both water and sewer, and then the county, me through the county engineer, we are building and maintaining the roads. So it's actually they would have a net loss if they annexed into the city. And once the ground is annexed into the city, then they have a requirement to provide water and sewer. So, trying to find a way to annex some of that available land into the city where they would be required to provide the water. But of course, they have to have water availability. That's a whole nother thing, is the long-term plan. And just one more statement. The irrigation district, the Moses Lake Irrigation District and Rehabilitation District, sorry, they have so much water right, and we should have supported them 20 years ago to start an irrigation utility. It is absolutely astounding to me that we didn't do that, and we're still not supporting them yet. We need to come to some sort of agreement right now for our kids and for our future to lock into that irrigation water and start that process. If we don't, we're and on the county side, all we can do is encourage that and constantly speak to that. But the city needs to step up and come to some sort of agreement with the irrigation district and get this thing rolling.
Well, my question is, why would we allow the governor to send 2 large battery plants to our county when we're having issues with power and water? So if they're going to bring us these large corporations, which they did, bring us some money, bring us some funding so we can take care of them. Quite frankly, if we don't, there's some of them that are talking about leaving already. So I think it falls on the state to provide some kind of funding to help us out here. They got us into this mess, so help us out. And if we don't go after them and say, "Hey, we need some serious help here," otherwise, they're not going to come in and say, "Here's a $10 million." We got to go ask for it.
Awesome, Kevin.
Oh.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
All right, next question. And this kind of ties into affordable housing. Will zoning be allowed to allow tiny homes on a plot of land?
Yes.
More than one affordable options for ownership/rentals. Tiny houses. What are your thoughts?
No,
Do you want to go first?
go.
We'll pick on Amador.
Uh, I I don't know if zoning will be allowed for that. But where are they going to get the water and the sewer and everything else that the county's not really responsible to provide? So that's it. I think it's a long way away.
Well, at the state level, the legislature, I don't know if this is a good thing, but the ADU law where it's expanding 1 to 3 units per lot if you meet certain criteria. By the way, I'm not a proponent of this, but then in addition, they also put in a multifamily um, townhouse type law where it would allow if you removed your house, you could actually do up to 6 units multifamily on a and this overrides local zoning. This is brand new, and if this starts to happen, and it's gonna get really weird really quick. Kevin knows way more about this than I do. By
I
the
see
way,
him digging into his folder. Kevin, the
this
time is now
awesome.
yours to wow us.
So 400 square foot is considered a tiny home. They are allowed in Grant County. They have to meet certain criteria. They have to be built offsite and brought to the property. They have to meet L&I requirements. They have to be built to current code, but you can bring them in Grant County.
So a manufacturer,
It is allowed. Correct. Yeah.
not like a stick-built tiny home.
I'd have to ask that question, but this is the information that I was provided by the service development services. By the way, Chris is great. He's awesome. I don't know where we got him or how we got him, but we better keep him.
Chris, you're not allowed to leave ever. You got to tell all of us before you do. I totally agree with Kevin on that.
Yeah.
And Jim is actually fantastic too. If you've met Jim on the planning side, building services and planning.
Yeah.
All right. Kind of a funny question. Tying into affordable housing. Christy Coates is asking, what are the candidates' priorities in terms of funding and projects? So what are your priorities? Let's start with Amador Castro.
All right. So I have this whole thing written out right here because I'm just going to read it because it's easier for me. Okay. Because that was I didn't want to make a mistake. So I put that having been on the education side, one of the things I want to see is how the county is planning for growth and jobs for our future graduates. One of the top priorities should be create opportunities for our youth to stay here instead of leaving the area. So I'd be sitting with other departments to see what they have planned for our county growth and meeting with our partner municipalities to make sure we're working together. I can't say where would we get the funding without knowing what our current resources are and how we can use them.
Thank you. Dave, you're up. What are your favorite projects to get behind?
Well, for me, the transportation, yes, but I want to kind of open everyone's eyes to the possibility of grants, but grants that do not have strings attached that we cannot live with. So other counties are getting grant streams and annual grants in certain areas that we haven't yet. So for me, the extra funding that Amador was just talking about in certain areas, maybe when we launch an initiative, another project area, let's say, one of the first things that we could look into is what kind of grants are available in that area. And then second, what kind of strings are attached. So for example, our shelter took a PETA grant for $50,000 and there was some serious strings attached, which is still damaging our shelter and why the shelter is so full right now. Something for another day because it's a little bit dangerous to get into that territory. But sometimes you have strings attached that change your operations. And so but there are grants out there. And if it works within what you're doing already, we need to be looking at that. And how do you encourage your staff at the county to go after these grants? And is it worth getting a grant writer if they pay for themselves 20 times over? And there's this idea, oh, we don't want to hire anybody. We don't want to hire anyone, especially a writer. Well, if they pay for themselves 20 times over and they can help not just one department, but all departments. Something to think about on priorities. Looking for other ways to bring in money so we can leverage our local money to go further.
Kevin Burgess.
I personally think that the landfill is probably a priority at this point. They're saying 10 years. I don't believe that. As we grow, there's more dumping. I think we're looking at 7, but I haven't seen the data. But when they say 10, that concerns me, and I think we need to we need to put that into high gear, in my opinion, and look at partnerships. But that's something I'd have to look into.
We may have as little as 6 years. And what happened is we've gone from 115 tons to 135 tons,
Yeah.
and we are picking up how fast we're filling it in.
So whose yard are we going to dump our waste in when it's full? Yours?
That's so true. And let alone, I think we could probably break a little bit out of it if we did the composting plant they've been talking about, where we separate, but that maybe buys us a year or two.
Yeah. That's
And
late.
it costs us money to do the composting
Right.
facility as well. It's an excellent question.
Yeah, good stuff. Boy, it's been tough for me to bite my tongue. I'm like,
You did a
"Oh,
good job.
I have questions, but this time is for you guys, not for me to showboat. So I will bite my tongue. But it's good stuff. Good stuff. Sean Cardwell has a question. How are you going to differentiate the values and desires of District 1, which is largely not Moses Lake, from other districts? What unique challenges do you see District 1 facing? Oh, let's start with Kevin Burgess.
I don't know of any distinct issues that our district is facing per se. That's something, I promised the people up north that I would come see them. And I'll make my rounds. I'll find out what's going on and what they need. That's what I'll do.
Amador?
So District 1, some of the challenges, we're talking with people up north, the lack of law enforcement presence up there. The roads is a big issue for them. So my whole background, it's just part of my culture is to be of service to the people. That's just what I've always done. Um, and so the people I've talked to, people I've worked with up north, I promised them that once I'm elected, I will make myself known, not just in District 1, but all over the county. I will be there for everybody, especially the rural areas, because they're the ones who get least represented.
Dave, you've been taking notes.
So I live in Soap Lake, and I have property up at Grand Coulee, and the Coulee corridor is where I live. It's where I play. It's where I work, and I'm not going to forget that. In that position, I will know my roots. One of the concerns, you're absolutely right, by the way, on the police presence, the sheriff. But agriculture, and one of the things that I'm finding is just a general understanding. Some people don't understand ag anymore, and they don't understand that where food comes from and our ag industry and the respect of that and the teaching of that in our schools is not there anymore. And it's a big concern for me because how they're treated even on the road. I saw this one guy just behind a hay truck, and it was astounding what he was doing because he just doesn't have any understanding for what the ag industry is like. I lived in a old farmhouse with my family and raised my family for 17 years in an old farmhouse. And I have a great deal of respect. My neighbors literally worked 24/7. I was blown away. I was going to work, as an engineer, and I would see them working 24/7 to make a small full-time family farm work. We need to understand what it takes to make those small businesses work, and we need to have some support for them. We need to get that back into our schools somehow.
Well, thank you. Where's this one question at? Oh, yes. Brandon Douglas would like to know, what is your thought, opinion, position on shrub step? Did I pronounce that right? I had to Google this when I first saw this. I was like, what in the world are we talking about? Shrub step.
Have you ever been down in Moses Coulee? No? That's a no?
Like, I don't know. I've driven around, looked at a few things, but I think of like just the bush. But
No, there's a lot more to it.
yeah. So it's like,
That comes from the Department of Fish and Wildlife. The county's actually looking at buying property to be able to bank shrub step property that they own, because if they take it out, they have to have somewhere to replace it. So they're looking at property to buy to be able to bank this shrub step according to the state laws. It's kind of like the pygmy rabbit and the spotted owl, and
Yeah.
that's where it's coming from. But it's important. It's important part of the ecosystem. There's a very good video on the Department of Fish and Wildlife's website. You should watch it. It's about 11 minutes long, but it's a good video.
anyone else want to take a stab at it? That
Okay, first.
sounds like Dave is ready.
It doesn't what what we're talking about is mitigation, and it doesn't make sense to have these small little pieces because you can't have the biodiversity. And when you got a little half-acre piece here, close to the high density urban area, if you will. And so what you're doing is you're mitigating on the west side, they're mitigating wetland up to 9-to-1 ratios now. And over here, I think it's like 1-to-1, fortunately. But if we can put aside that bank, that would allow us to have the humans, if you will, be where there is urban areas where there's these little, yes, there is little slices of that shrub step still in certain areas, but it makes sense to have more regional facilities, if you will, rather than these little slices and have these little prisons of habitat, if you will, surrounded by, which happens all the time on the west side, where they have these wetlands in the middle, and they should be doing regional wetlands on the west side. But here on the east side, shrub step is another way that we have all these overlapping agencies and overlapping rules, and it's making it really hard for the private use of lands. Anyways, that's some general comments on that. It makes more sense to go with a regional, rather large facility. For example, our existing public lands are a perfect example of that. We already have those huge areas, but these little pieces, we're going to need to find out ways to mitigate them. Anyways, Amador.
Amador.
I never heard about that before until I saw somebody ask this question on Facebook. So I started researching it, and it was my understanding that some of the shrubs that I felt like the question was being asked because the state wants to put in solar and wind power here, and that's going to be the first stuff that's going to go because they want to put it on scab land. So that I felt like the question was going to lean towards that way, and that was the point of asking it. But I mean, that's really all I got about that topic right now.
Oh, thank you for educating us on that, because there's a lot. Yeah, I just don't know about it other than it's kind of a protected land. Julie Rasmussen has a question. Name 2 departments. It sounds like
We already did
a previous question.
that one.
All right. Fred Dennert. How do they intend to address water issues without causing contamination? And I think we're going to need to educate some of our people here on who runs what. Who would like to?
Go ahead.
All right,
You
Kevin
want to
Burgess.
talk about water and contamination? So, the county commissioners don't have anything to do with water and cross contamination or contamination really whatsoever. It falls under the Department of Ecology and the Department of Health. So people in the county have individual wells. They have to get a permit to drill a well. You have to go to the Department of Health. The well driller has to get a permit. They don't monitor those wells. The county doesn't. So, really the county doesn't have anything to do with wells per se in the county. It's all Department of Health and Department of Ecology.
Thank you. You guys ready for an off the wall question? This is a loaded question, by the way. It's a psychological one. Would you own a flower shop? Let's start with Dave.
Yes.
Interesting. I know it's tough because you're on the spot. And Alex,
If my wife would support me.
Kevin,
The only way I'd own a flower shop is if my wife wanted to run it.
yeah,
I'd build it for her. I did it for our espresso stand. So
that's a safe answer. Amador,
Absolutely, I would, because my wife loves flowers, so
all right,
I don't have to buy them anymore. She can just go get them from the shop.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent answer.
Do you guys want to know what that means?
No, yes,
Probably not.
dang it.
So, unless you have like a family member involved with like a flower shop, men typically don't want much to do with that. But serial killers do. It's a way to take advantage of victims. So anyway, I know it's a loaded question, you're on the spot, but the answer is no. I would never own a flower shop. My wife could do one, but I want nothing to do it. That's the right answer. But that's kind of a
They can be very profitable.
I'm sure they can be, but yeah, it's kind of a funny question. Is a question I was asked in the military during a psych evaluation. So I was like,
How did you do? How did you answer?
epic fail. So they have ones like, do you like to look at flames? Would you own a flower shop? And so you answer these questions and you get a certain profile. And anyway, it's a loaded question. I know you're put on the spot and you're trying to please the masses. You're like, oh, I don't discriminate against flowers, but the answer is no. All right.
I didn't know we were having a psych evaluation. So
Yeah, well, the audience needs to know who they're voting for.
We're in trouble.
So. Yeah. They did. Were like, well, I'll support my wife. She likes flowers. You guys deflected, so I mean that's good. That's good. We'll give it to you. Um, do you believe in Bigfoot?
100% yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw him one time.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Cool. We'll have to have you on the show sometime. You talk
Absolutely.
about Bigfoot.
I've been on another podcast and talked about it.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah?
totally fine.
Yeah. Kevin?
I only believe in the one I got in my yard.
I do watch a lot of Bigfoot videos on YouTube. It's good stories.
But somehow there's the belief he's in Washington, right? Or one of them, many of them. I don't know. All right. Let's start with this last question. And you guys have kind of touched on it. Can you balance a budget? I think with some of the things we're seeing, people are concerned about the budget. I guess I'll leave it at that. Can you balance a budget? We'll start with Amador.
My store's budget is balanced, and so is my home. So that's my experience with balancing
Yeah.
budgets.
Kevin?
Absolutely. I'd also actually probably look at making cuts in the budget in places where we can. I think it's important that we do that. We already overspend in our government, so I think that's what our constituents will want is somebody that's going to keep an eye on people's budgets, cut costs where it can.
Dave?
Yes, absolutely. I'm responsible for a $27 million budget now. And one of the elements of budgeting for me is I have to keep a $10 million reserve that carries over year by year. And the reason for that is critical because we have to fund our road projects. We have to fund the construction of them almost entirely during that summer period before we get reimbursed by those grants, those 85% grants. So if we don't have that reserve budget, if we lose that or we're bad manager of that, we can't go after those construction projects, which means we don't get that. Well, right now, $8.5 million of grant money coming into our county, which has multiplicative effects. So it is critical that we manage the road fund, and we understand that there needs to be a reserve to be able to go after, to leverage our money to go after more money. And spending 15% to get 85% and build is a good deal, especially for our economy. So that's critical in our area in public works.
Thank you. Now we're up for closing remarks. This is your chance to shine. Warm us up one last time and let the people know what you stand for and why we should vote for you. I think we've got some great people right here running our candidates. Amador, let's start with you. Closing remarks.
So I guess the question, why should people vote for me? Because I have no agenda. I mean, nobody's pushing me. No, there's nobody behind me telling me that I need to do this. I'm coming in as just a normal person who loves giving back to my community, and I think that is going to go a long way because I've always been I don't always know the answers, but I work hard to find the answers for people. So that in itself is what I think Grant County needs, just a fresh mind in there.
Thank you. Dave Bren.
All right. So my background, I have some strengths that I can bring to bear that I will have advantages on day one with budgeting, with codes, with several other departments. I will be able to start quickly. My background, I'm a licensed professional engineer, civil engineer. In my experience, I have 29 years of experience working both on the public and private side. I ran my own business for 12 years, my own small engineering company. So I know what it's like to be a small businessman, and it's tough. Leadership, I'm the current county road engineer. Education, I have a master's degree in civil engineering, a good, strong technical degree. And service, I was in the U.S. Army Reserve. I was a combat engineer. And family, I've got a good, strong family. And of course, the budgeting is a good, strong area of mine as well.
Thank you. Kevin Burgess.
So, as a real estate broker and owning my own business for 22 years in Ephrata, owning an espresso stand, I have 9 rentals that I personally take care of. I know how to budget. I know how to get things done. I work well with others, and I put deals together all the time. Every day I put deals together. I work well with others, and if I don't know something, I know somebody that knows something. So I'm not afraid to ask, and I figure things out. I'm probably the only one in this room that has built their own house in 7 months by myself. So, I do things. I don't just sit around and talk about it. I do things. That's just how I am. So that's what I'll do for the county.
Thank you. I think we got a great selection of candidates here tonight with us. Thank you for spending time with us on the Ricksican Show. And for those listening, this is your last chance and warning. Like, subscribe, and share. Get the word out and promote your favorite candidate. We want to get the community involved more so than they have been. We want to get a better voter turnout. And this has been educational for me. You brought up some points. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So you guys are helping me with, my ignorance and my, questions I have. And I thought it was great that the community gave a bunch of questions so we could present those. Thanks for coming.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Right, yeah.
This is the Ricksican Show. I am Rick Beer, your host, and we are signing out. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Amador.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you at the polls, the vote, the whatever.